Patient is a 24-year-old unmarried female Caucasian Hispanic, gravida 0, complaining of nightmares. Physical examination unremarkable. No known allergies, pH of illness limited to minor URIs, occasional general malaise, broken fibula, age 9. Laboratory workups, including SMA-60, CBC, urinalysis, CAT scan, all within normal limits. Patient has 10-year BC implant, no other medications. Maria, tell me about the dream. Okay, I'm riding on the subway in LA with my mother. Your mother died several years ago. See, cancer. We're on the Wilshire Tube going into downtown and the tube is empty except for us. That's the really scary part, you know? I never seen an empty subway car. Go on. So all of a sudden there is this loud noise, like something hits the roof of the subway, then a scraping sound. Scraping. Yeah, like something digging, you know? But it's also like fingernails on metal. Anyway, then the train stops and I realize that something is trying to get in. Something bad. So I say to my mother, Mama, come on. We have to get out of here. But Mama, she just sits there and smiles at me, you know? Then all of a sudden the roof tears open like it's paper and all these things claw right into the car. Like nothing I've ever seen. They are bestia. Monsters with teeth and big heads like bananas. I reach for Mama to pull her with me, only she turns into one of the things. Her face stretches. It's too horrible, and it feels so real. Case 232337, Thomas Culp. What happened after the television came on? Well, the room looked distorted, twisted somehow. Then something like came out of the set. But it stretched the usual stopping place of the holograms, like a fist shoving through a sheet of Flexiplast. And then the thing, some kind of monster, it grabbed me. I couldn't move a fucking muscle. It opened its mouth, had teeth as long as my fingers, and inside was like another mouth, smaller. And it opened, and oh Jesus. It got me, and I couldn't fucking move. Case 232558, TM Duncan. So I was standing next to the flight attendant, hitting on her a little, and then I noticed she looked familiar, like somebody I knew. Familiar? Did you recognize her? Yeah, it took a second. She looked like my mother. So I figured, well, I shouldn't be trying to come onto my mother. Then all of a sudden, her chest tore open, and this thing looked like a snake or a big eel with a lot of teeth comes out, spewing blood, and fucking flew out of her, right into my face. That's when I woke up, and man, I was never so glad in my life to be awake. I stayed up for 2 days. Case 212579, R. Jordan. At night, I just want to sleep, to forget, but at night I'm 6 years old. I'm still the girl they call Newt. I returned to the planet Acheron, the hell of my youth. The alien took me from Ripley and pulled me into its nest. In truth, Ripley came back for me, but in the cold remnant of my dreams, she never comes. It's always the same. The alien honors me with its seed, with its darkness, and suddenly I'm part of something magnificent and powerful, something that transcends human weakness. That's when I see her. She's not of Acheron. She's not of any world. She takes root where it serves her, spreading her progeny like some malignant disease. By night, she is the monster that consumes me. By day, she is the one who waits for me. Before the first established Earth Hive, before the outbreak, Dr. Rona had noted multiple reports of intense dreams related to the xenomorph. Despite never having encountered the creature before, the patient's descriptions of the alien were uncanny. They were connected somehow, but Arona could not determine the significance or purpose of this phenomenon. The dreams continued through the years of the Earth War, still following surviving humans on Gateway Station. The station was made from heavy plastic and cheap lunar metals. Heat came from baseboard heaters set along each corridor, but the void outside kept the corridors from ever really getting warm. Apparently the newer modules were worse, exposed plastic beams and cramped quarters with poor facilities and lights. They had been slapped together to field the incoming refugees from Earth, the flood of people that had finally tapered to a trickle. Gateway Orbital Station now held somewhere around 17,000, almost twice the number it had been intended for, but it wouldn't need to hold any more. In spite of the crowding, it was quiet. Most of the people on Gateway had lost friends and family to the aliens on Earth. It was almost like people were embarrassed to laugh or have a good time. Newt could understand that. She had spent much of her life in various psych wards, trying to convince medtechs that the aliens existed. The solemn atmosphere of the station was familiar, if not comforting. She didn't feel particularly at home here, but she'd never really had a home. At least her life wasn't in danger. That was something. After the trip with Hicks, being safe seemed almost like a dream. Do you dream of her? The mother alien? Newt looked up at Ripley, startled. Ripley watched her intently. I do. She waited for an answer. Yeah, I do too. I've heard that others have dreams. Newt trailed off. She had heard stories, mostly about fanatics, people who had turned their dreams of the aliens into some kind of religion. The Chosen, who had realized that Judgment Day had already come. She'd mostly kept quiet about her dreams, but recently... I have them often. Almost every night. Ripley nodded. It got that way with me too. They started with her reaching out, expressing love, and turned into these. I felt a connection. They were transmissions. I knew where she was, that she wanted to gather her children to her. The Queen of the Queens, the driving force behind the whole goddamn species. I knew where to find her. She paused. And I lost her. Newt nodded. I knew I wasn't the only one, but I haven't had a lot of time to think about it lately, and this station doesn't offer a whole lot in the way of group therapy sessions. Ripley smiled, a short, bitter expression. I think I know what she's waiting for, she said. And I have an idea. We need to find more dreamers. What about Hicks? Newt shrugged. I know he dreams, but I don't think it's the same way I do. That doesn't mean much. He keeps to himself. We could ask him. They convened with Hicks. Ripley came straight to the point. No point in coding it. Do you dream of the aliens? Doesn't everybody? He said. Not nightmares, Newt said, her voice quiet. Signals, transmissions. From a queen mother, a leader of queens. She's in a dark place, a cave or something, and she wants. She's waiting, she's calling. Newt closed her eyes, remembering. She moves closer, and then she speaks. She says she loves you and wants you with her. You can feel it coming off her in waves, her need. Newt opened her eyes. Ripley was nodding. Hicks wore a skeptical look. So what if this is real? What do you want from me? I've had enough of suicide missions. What's that supposed to mean? Ripley asked. I'm talking about those things. We've been lucky so far, but that's bound to run out. Keep pushing and we'll all end up dead. Or worse. Ripley looked at Hicks. You're scared. We're all scared, Ripley, Newt added. You know what the alien can do. That doesn't scare you? Not as much as knowing they're still out there. And there's still something we can do to stop them. None of us will know peace until it's over. So now you want to take the offensive, said Hicks. Earth's gone, overrun by those goddamn things. What's changed? Nothing. Everything. I've spent the last 15 years seeing her, feeling her, hoping the visions would stop. She turned to Newt. Listen, Hicks, remember the robot ship, the dream I had? Hicks nodded. Yeah, I remember. Newt had known there were aliens on that ship when there was no way she could have. That dream had saved their lives. He paused, turned back to Ripley. What do you want me to do? We need to know who's having these dreams, said Ripley. If they're actually transmissions of some kind, we may be able to use them. But we have to find out if anybody else dreams them to be sure. Any ideas? Maybe. I can ask some people I know, if you think it's really worth doing. I don't know if it is, Ripley said. But it might be. Hicks had done some asking around on the station, and the next morning the 3 survivors of Acheron met again. The private conference room where they gathered was military access only, but it was small and rarely used, so Hicks had no trouble signing it out. Ripley and Newt stood on either side of him in front of a small computer. He spoke as he tapped in codes. I looked up an old friend last night, Leslie Elliott. She used to go out with this guy I trained with, till she realized that he had about 50 IQ points on him. She's a pretty good hacker, but these days she's doing basic data entry. I figured she wouldn't mind rascaling up what we needed. She even edited. Wait, here we go. A readout scrolled up the screen. Names, dates, places, then vid images. Quincy Gaunt, PhD, subject Nancy Zetter. It was a poor quality vid of two people sitting in an office, the woman speaking. And then she comes up to me, and I hear this voice in my head telling me that she cares about me. She says, "I love you." The attractive middle-aged woman shook her head, disgusted. That awful thing, telling me that. "And that's where it ends?" said the doctor, a thin young man with a neutral expression. "Yes, except it doesn't end," she said. "I keep having them." Hicks pushed a button on the console. More names blipped across the screen. Another office with different people. A well-built young man squirmed nervously in a cushioned chair while an older man looked on. "It's like, I don't know, she wants me," he blurted out. "Sexually?" The young man colored visibly. "No, not like that. Like, oh shit, I don't know, like she's my mother or something." "Do you dream about your mother?" said the doctor, leaning forward. Hicks hit a button. A Dr. Torchin was talking to a Lieutenant Addix. "And you feel like she's calling you to be with her in these dreams," Torchin said. "Interesting." Hicks handled the keyboard swiftly. "It's a recurring dream. She loves me. She wants me. You say the creature is asking you to find it. It wants me to find her. She's calling me." Hicks hit the stop button and turned to look at the two women. "How many?" said Newt, her mouth dry. "Not sure," said Hicks, but Les accessed a week of psych visits and came up with 37. "And there are a lot of people who don't go to psych," said Ripley. She looked thoughtful. "Good job, Hicks." "Where is this headed, Ripley?" he said, leaning back into his chair. "Does this mean something?" "That Queen Mother wants her children," said Ripley. "I don't know why she wants them, but she does. The signal is for them. The drones aren't smart enough to load themselves onto starships and fly home, but if we could find her, get her to Earth, they would go to her," said Newt. "Let me get this straight. This Queen of Queens is in another stellar system. Christ, you're talking faster than light transmission of this fucking call. Voodoo stuff." "But what if it's true?" said Newt. "What if somehow the Super Queen can make that long-distance call? Think how it could work if she were here." "They would head for her like lemmings," Ripley said. "Gather themselves in a big bunch all together, every one of them." Hicks wasn't the brightest guy who ever lived, but he saw the possibilities of this scenario pretty damn fast. When he spoke, his voice was soft, but interested. "We could wait until they all got collected into a big bunch, and then nuke 'em all to hell." He looked back at the vid screen, where a patient with dark circles beneath her eyes was frozen in mid-sentence. Nice dream, but that's all it seemed to be. He'd drifted since the first contact with the monsters, lost a big chunk of time, until he'd rediscovered Newt in that psych ward, and a new purpose along with her, to destroy the aliens, who had fucked him and mankind up royally. That was his goal, but he was a practical man. To Ripley he said, "What makes you so sure about this?" She shook her head. "I'm not sure. At least not in any way you could lay out and measure with a ruler or scale. But you believe all this psych stuff means what you said. There's some kind of supermom alien somewhere who could draw these bastards, like shit does to flies." "That's what I believe, yeah." Hicks stared at the screen. Newt had been able to tell about the aliens on the ship he and Bueller and she had stolen. That was a fact. And he'd had his own hunches, ducked when there wasn't any reason to do it, and saved his ass because of it. He wasn't much on religious or psych stuff, but you didn't have to be a chemical engineer to start a fire either. Pragmatic was the way to go, to hell with the theoretical crap. If Newt could dream the truth, maybe other people could do it too. Made sense. They had the names of people who could describe the aliens' planet, 6 in all. Their details were vague, but they'd cross-reference a known systems map and come up with several possible locations. Ripley said she figured they could narrow it down if they could talk to the 6. I thought we blew their goddamn planet out of space, Hicks said. I dropped chain-linked nukes that should have scraped the entire fucking surface clean. Doesn't matter, said Ripley. They spawn wherever they are, and a planet overrun is a planet overrun. Yeah, but this one, wherever it is, appears to be the core. Makes me wonder how many places are seeded. He trailed off, remembering a conversation he had with one of Gateway Station's survivors. Something? Ripley said. Yeah, a few days after Newt and I got here, I met this old man at the bar, name of Crane. He was ex-military and very drunk, wanted to buy every uniform in the place a drink. He rambled, glory days and dead soldiers, shit like that. I didn't pay much attention. Until he started talking about the aliens. He called them war toys, said that they were too good at surviving to be natural. Ripley turned to look at Hicks. Interesting, she said, considering for a minute. Rapid procreative ability, acid blood, vacuum resistant. It would explain a hell of a lot if they were designed that way. Hicks nodded. We're thinking about anyway. Of course, then the questions get worse. Who designed the fucking things? Why? What do they have in mind? The notion loomed over them heavily, but there were other matters ahead of them that required their focus, more to be done. Newt walked toward her quarters quickly. It was good to be in action, better to know that she shared her dreams with others, that she wasn't alone. Alone. Newt was suddenly very near tears. Mitch. She wondered what had become of him, her android lover. As always, a mix of confused emotions came with the thought. Anger that he hadn't told her the truth. Worry, sadness. When the realization had hit, it had been too late. She and Hicks were in space, headed away from the battle on the planetoid where Mitch had been trapped. The transmission to their ship was the last she had seen of him. The truth of it was that for whatever Mitch had come to be, he was the best person she had ever known. And she had loved him. Yeah, okay. So life was fucking unfair. It was a cold, hard fact she'd learned and relearned too many times to cry about now. You spent a lot of time in a hospital. You learned to suck it up and keep your face blank. Newt wiped the tears from her face. Crying didn't get you anywhere. If she'd learned nothing else in her recent adventures with Hicks, she had learned that the best way to get things done was to do them. You wanted an ass kicked, best you wore your heavy boots. Then you could take care of business. Sitting around and whining didn't get it done. Ripley knew. Ripley had a plan. What the plan was didn't matter as much as the fact that it existed. And if there was any chance at all that it would work, Newt was going to help make sure the damn aliens suffer for what they'd done. And laugh while they burned. In this series, I'm recounting the Earth War, as depicted in the Aliens comic series. The accounts are explored as originally published, despite certain names, locations, and other events having been altered over time. For more on the Earth War, you can check out the Accounts of the Earth War playlist on the end screen, and stay tuned for the latest videos. As always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and you can also subscribe for all the latest videos from Alien Theory. A very, very special thanks goes out to WEYLAND YUTANI executives, EmYarUk, and Lady Anne, part of the Patreon Hive. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for exclusive posts and contests. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow @alien_theory on Twitter and @alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.